Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Classic Restos. Of course, not possible without the continued support of my longest standing sponsor, Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call on 134646? Visit Shannons online at shannons.com.au, and while you're there, why not sign up and become a member of the Shannons Club? In fact, Shannons offer you a 10% multi-policy discount if you add your home insurance to your current car and bike insurance. And when you look around at classic vehicles such as this, you just have to be with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give them a call on 134646 for a quote? As a part of my lengthy stay in Pennsylvania, covering some of the world's largest motoring shows for Carlisle events, in between the Ford show and the up-and-coming GM show, I thought I'd bring you this, the D'Elegance at Hershey. Just a short drive from Carlisle is the picturesque Hershey, home of Hershey's chocolate, Trogues Brewery, and of course the AACA Museum. Today I'm not far from the AACA at Hotel Hershey. This is where you will find vehicles of a 5-star standard all day long. A chance to see millions of dollars worth of cars showcased within a gorgeous backdrop surrounded by the delightful landscape of the Hershey Property. The Elegance is the ultimate automobile garden party. In the tradition of the finest European and American concourse D'Elegance, you'll see more than 60 of the world's most sought-after and desired antique vehicles. This collection of vehicles is rarely available for viewing. Let's go take a closer look. Moving through this glorious event at Hershey D'Elegance. How are you, Tom?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome to today's show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
This is a remarkable vehicle. It's a 1937 Packard. What can you tell us about the car?
Well, it's a formal sedan, which was only something that the very wealthy would be interested back at that time. And as far as we're able to tell, there's maybe only 10 of this particular body style left in the world. Maybe not even that many.
Do you feel kind of nervous bringing it out?
No, it's an original condition car, so that takes a little bit of the weight off my shoulders as far as a stone chip or something like that. It's part of the aging process.
Well, Tom, every stone chip is a trophy.
You can look at it that way.
Now, being a 1937 car, an original car, what is it like to drive?
Well, it's you would think for 1937 it would be a little more difficult, but in tight spots the steering can be a handful, but on the open road it's smooth, it's got power, it's a joy to drive. It's really a pleasant car to own.
I guess it makes you appreciate that back in 1937 what type of a high-level vehicle this must have been.
Right, and 37 for Packard was the first year of hydraulic brakes and a couple other innovations that make it a little more drivable on today's roads.
Even just from one observation as well with the padded vinyl roof, just to make it that little bit extra quieter inside in heavy rain, just little things like that.
Yeah, I've never ridden in the back seat, but my son says it's really quiet back there when it's on the road.
Well, your son would probably know what the back seat's like, Tom.
Probably so, but we won't get into that.
Tom, tell us about the engine. What lurks under the hood of this 1937 rocket?
Well, this Packard has got the Super 8 engine in it. Packard had two 8-cylinder engines at the time and the V12. This was the Super 8.
Wow. Is it pretty torquey, like in first gear? It'll pull anything?
Yeah, it is, Fletch, because I've gotten it in the wrong gear a couple times and it doesn't seem to flinch. It keeps going no matter what gear you have it in. It's got the torque.
I mean, it's probably got a 3.9 or a 4.10 rear gear, so it'll pull away just about in any gear, I would imagine.
Yes, and one of the previous owners put a high-speed gear in the rear end, so it's capable of highway speeds too. It's pleasant to drive.
Thanks for your time. Love your car. Thanks for turning up here today and making this episode of Classic Restos what it is. Good on you, Tom.
Good to talk to you. I appreciate it.
Fletch, I'd like to show you my 1958 Maserati. It really isn't a Maserati. It was built by the Maserati brothers but they had sold the company by this time, and now they have moved to a different location, and this is what they built starting in 1957. Fletch, it's a very good car to drive. We vintage race it, and I've had it on the Colorado Grand, which is 1,000 miles in Colorado up and down hills. Fletch, it was a pleasure being on the show.
Time for Don now. How are you, Don?
Fine, Fletch.
That's good. Got to be good on a day like this, right?
Oh, it's great. The sun is starting to shine.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right onto the top of your Rolls-Royce 1933 car. Have a go at this. What a beautiful car. How long have you had it, Don?
Oh, approximately 4 to 5 years.
Yeah. Have you always been into Rolls-Royces?
Not always, but the last... my first car actually was the Silver Cloud 65, which I've had over 20 years. But then I started buying some Rolls-Royces in the last 10 years.
You just can't help yourself, can you, Don?
Well, it's hard. It's hard to resist.
Don, tell us some of the advantages of this car, 1933 Rolls-Royce. What's going on there?
Well, it's very rare. There's not that many left. They've only made approximately of this type less than 200, and there might be a dozen left in the world. And this car was originally purchased, was actually originally manufactured and purchased by the Rothschilds from England.
It's incredible. I mean, having a classic car is one thing, but when you've got the history and where it came from, that just makes it even more special. So, in its life, where was it, Don? Where did it mainly reside?
Basically in England. I have documentation and pictures of the family driving it.
So how does it make you feel, owning it now?
Oh, I feel great about it. I fell in love with it when I saw it in the catalog.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Rolls-Royce, synonymous with chrome, the Rolls-Royce grille, which just stayed traditional through most of the models. I mean, this was like top-end car. I mean, Rolls-Royce, you really couldn't get much higher in the chain, could you?
No, that's the cream of the crop.
Well, it looks like you're enjoying it, Don, and it's great to catch up with you here today. But before you do go, I've got to ask you, how is it powered? What's under the hood?
It's actually a 6-cylinder, but it's a 7-liter engine.
Wow.
So it's actually it can go as fast as 100 miles an hour.
That's around a 400 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine. That's incredible.
Yes, it is.
It is. All right, good on you there, Don. I'd be hanging on at 100 miles an hour, but boy, it's just amazing to think that back in those times they could build a car with such top-end power. That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Good on you, Don.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Fletch.
Oh, you nearly got it right. Try again.
Fletch?
Hey, you got it.
Okay, Fletch.
He's a good guy. Now, lucky enough to catch up with Pat now. Now, Pat is Don's partner. How are you, Pat?
I'm doing fine, Fletch.
That's good. Do you think I'm going to ask you about the car?
I hope not.
I'm going to ask you about your dress. That's very nice.
Thank you very much.
This is very 5-star here at this event. You turned up with the Rolls-Royce, an incredible vehicle. Do you like riding it? Do you ever get to drive it?
I have driven some of Don's cars, but not this one yet. Not this one.
I mean, they're works of art, aren't they? I mean, they're like big pieces of jewellery.
Yes, absolutely.
I think these cars were an extension of persona back in a time where you used to almost wear your motor car.
That's true. I agree with you.
That's good. Well, thanks for your time, Pat.
Oh, thank you, Fletch.
That's all right. I had to get Pat on the show because she came over and said, "Oh, please, can I be on?"
Oh,
So,
of course.
thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
The magnificent Phantom II was produced from 1929 to 1935. Just 1,680 were built, including 281 sporting Continentals.
I hope you're really enjoying today's episode of the Concourse D'Elegance at Hotel Hershey here in Pennsylvania, United States of America. And of course, it's thanks to Shannons Insurance. Give them a call on 134646 for a quote. Welcome back. We have Pat now. Welcome to the show. How are you, Pat?
Wonderful, thank you. It's been a nice day, a little bit of rain, but now the sun's out, and so it's great.
Absolutely. It just makes for a fantastic day to showcase these magnificent vehicles. In this case here, a 1940 Cadillac. Now, this belongs to your museum. Give us a quick rundown on that, Pat.
We're in Huntington, Pennsylvania. It's the oldest car museum in America. It was started in 1920 by my husband's father, and when Mr. Swigert passed away, it's the Swigert Auto Museum. When Mr. Swigert passed away in 1947, William took over That's part of his inheritance and has continued it. At that time, there were 12 cars. We have about 150 at this time.
Website details are on the bottom of the screen right now for that museum. We're organising the Fletch tours for 2014 to come across too, Pat, so there's a never-ending stream of these museums, these cars just hiding away in little pockets. It's extraordinary. Now, one of these cars that hides in one of these little pockets is this 1940 Cadillac. Now, tell us the story here. Is this actually a convertible, Pat?
It's what they call a town car, a Landau top, and the front folds back, and back over the passenger's compartment folds back. The center stays stationary, and it's basically a limousine. The car was purchased for Barbara Hutton by her Aunt Jessie Donahue. Jessie was part of the Woolworth family from the Woolworth chain of stores, and when Barbara Hutton married Cary Grant, the actor, why, this was given to them as a wedding present.
Well, we're talking a string of wealth here, the chain all the way down, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely.
Pat, this particular car, have you had the privilege of driving it?
Oh, I've driven it. It's a wonderful driving car. It's great to ride in. It's very luxurious, but it's very easy and very elegant.
It's a very big car. I mean, these cars, they sit high, they're long, they're wide. They're right in your face, aren't they? I mean, they're just so glamorous.
They really are. And with the top down, it makes it extremely wonderful.
Always got to enjoy the top down, Pat.
Oh, really?
All right, thank you so much for your time, Pat. Love the Cadillac and your time for having a chat. Thank you.
It was wonderful talking to you and a pleasure being on your show, Fletch.
You're welcome. The big 75 Series rode on a 141-inch wheelbase chassis. They were powered by a 356 cubic inch V8. The top over the roof of the chauffeur's section can be removed entirely. Hershey's chocolates and the founder, Milton Hershey, and back in the early 1900s in his day, he was a great guy. In fact, in the early 1930s, when this property was purchased to build Hotel Hershey, he turned up one day to see the excavation taking place. It was explained to him that the machines took the jobs of 30 men. He immediately told the machines to get off the job, and 30 guys got work here at this very property. And this was how Milton Hershey used to work. He made many millions of dollars and put it back into the town for the people, attributing to how Hershey is the great town it is today. Moving through, we've found Keith. How are you, Keith?
How you doing, Fletch?
Good, mate, good. Love your Lincoln.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Tell us the rundown. I mean, you know, what do we say about these cars? I mean, works of art. They take a long time to restore. This is a beautiful picture in the paddock.
Yeah, this car here we actually purchased from Ruger, the gun owner, the gentleman that owned, Ruger guns, and I hope he wasn't shooting his mouth off, was he? No. He's a very adamant man. I mean, he drove this car in 28 states around United States, so very roadworthy car. Naturally, it's a V12, 1932, and it's just a fabulous car. Special body, Judkin.
Okay, what makes it a special body, Keith?
Well, what happened was Lincoln would have made the car, the chassis, V12, the drive line of the car, wheels on up to the body. Then the body would be made by a company, whether it was Fleetwood or Pogoni Falaschi. Well, this happens to be Judkin. Judkin was well known for coupes. Not open cars, but coupes. So this car has a Judkin body, which really gives it, you have the Lincoln nose from the cowl front, stock Lincoln nose, but from there back, and the padded top, which is a Landau top, which gives it the look of a convertible, but it's not actually a convertible, which is a real Landau.
I think it's amazing too, Keith, back in the day, the amount of outsourcing where a lot of other companies prospered to build a model such as this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, especially when you got into the wooden bodies cars, they couldn't afford to have everything under their own shell. So in order for them to save money and prosper, they would send the car out, the chassis out, get a body made for it with an outside company, and that company specialized only in the body, so it made sense to... Yep.
Interesting too, back in the 30s with Cadillac with their V16s, we've got the Lincoln here with the V12. It was a very interesting time because we're talking the Depression years as well for manufacturers to try these types of engines. Not a silly question, Keith, but this V12 here, did they run really well?
Well, yeah, the beautiful thing about them is they have a lot of torque, and so they were better on gas even though it was a bigger displacement engine. I mean, they were just really smooth cars. The V12, comparative to an 8-cylinder, you had 12 cylinders working, and the comparison of Chrysler and Lincoln were two so over-engineered companies that it was fabulous with their whole design of their rear differential, their transmission gearboxes. They were just fantastic vehicles to drive. Fantastic.
They certainly had their accolades. I love the way these cars are finished. I mean, it's opulence all the way. I mean, a very stately car. I mean, we've said many times on other shows of Classic Restos, the working class man could not have afforded a car like this.
Never, never, never. I mean, you know, we have, Mr. Bulgari has many of these kind of high-end coupes. Buick 90 Series coupe, they only built 41 in 1935. He has the only survivor. But when you looked at them, they were almost for like the Playboy. They were for the guys that wanted to go out there. I mean, if you get a chance to look inside the car, look, just look at the makeup of the sun visor brackets. I mean, you know, I think they cost more than the car. I mean, they're unbelievable, the makeup of that. They're glass sun visors with, you know, all this nickel-finished hardware. It's phenomenal. So, and this car fits well with Mr. Bulgari's collection. I mean, he has V16 Cadillacs. And like you said, the upper echelon, he caught this bug. He lives in Rome, Italy. He doesn't live in the States here. And we take care of his cars worldwide. Well, he has V16 Cadillacs that were in the Vatican procession. And as a 9-year-old boy, that's how this all started for him. He would watch the Vatican procession, and he would say, oh my gosh, that's the epitome of the world. And it was Chrysler. It wasn't Italian cars. It was all American classics. And that's why 90% of his collection is all the higher-end classics, such as this one here.
Keith, wonderful talking to you. See, it's blokes like this that you meet up with over here, and you really can literally talk for hours. You could do a half-hour TV show just on this car and this guy. Keith, thank you very, very much.
Come see us in Allentown. You'll really enjoy a nice visit, I'm sure.
No worries. Thanks, Keith. Before I let you go, mate, what's your nickname?
Fletch.
See, there could be something going on there.
Flick and Fletch.
The college town of Carlisle, Pennsylvania is an absolutely beautiful tourist destination. If you would like to see some of this amazing area of the United States in conjunction with one of your favourite car shows, you may be looking at joining a Fletch tour. We're taking expressions of interest now for 2014. Send me an email via classicrestos.com.au. I hope you're really enjoying today's episode of Classic Restos, and if you do like Classic Restos, don't forget the DVD boxed sets, along with Classic Restos merchandise, can be found at classicrestos.com.au. And of course, it's a big thanks to Shannons Insurance. Of all the cars, a 1940 Nash Ambassador. Welcome to the show today, Reggie.
Thank you, Fletch.
I'm stuck for words. I've never seen a car like this ever.
They made 11 of these cars, and 2 are left that we know of. The first and third cars were black, and we believe this may be the first car. There were pictures of Alexis Sanoski sitting in the car just like this with the same bumper design. Some of the cars had a little bit different bumper design. Some of the cars were, 5 of the 11 had copper plate on the chrome work instead of chrome. The first and third cars made were black, and of course this was originally a black car.
It's amazing. I see some styles here. I look around the nose, I can see Duesenberg, I can see Cord, I can see Tucker. I look along the door line, it reminds me of the British cars, the smaller sports cars. It's kind of like a combination. I mean, it's a huge car, it is a big car, but all that combined into one gem of a thing.
Yep, Fletch, it was just Alexis Sanoski's design himself that he came up with to take a standard automobile and make it look like it was really moving at any speed, sitting still even.
Absolutely. I noticed too the rev counter, is that standard for 1940?
The tachometer and the cutout were put only on these 11 cars that they built.
Really? And you can notice the cable in behind there, cable driven as well. Extraordinary. Now tell us about the engine, Reggie. How is it powered in terms of the size of the engine?
It's 115 horsepower, twin ignition 8, 16 spark plugs, 2 coils, 1 distributor with 2 sets of points in it. Will run on one bank or the other bank. It runs smooth on both banks like an airplane engine would run.
That sounds like a nightmare to tune.
It would. It's a little hard to get the point synchronized, but you can do it.
It's amazing. They did it back in the day. This technology was around 1940. I guess too, being a top-end car, there's always been a market for the top-end people as well. So those people would always buy these types of cars. I look at the dashboard too, Reggie. I mean, it's not unlike Ford. I look at the interior. It's very sumptuous. It's just an incredible car from that time. How does it drive as a car? Is it nice to drive?
Fletch, this car just cruises right on down the road. It has a 3-speed with a 4-speed overdrive, and it will just run 55 and 60 all day long. Wow. It's just smooth, smooth as it can go down the road.
Yeah. Smooth as it goes down the road. Doesn't get much better than that. Reggie, thank you so much for your time. Lovely catching up with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Fletch.
Time for Jared now. How are you, Jared?
Pretty good. How are you, Fletch?
I'm very, very well. You know what? It's not every day of the week you see one of these cars. A 1941 Chrysler Thunderbolt. Jared, from what I hear, you're taking care of this car. Tell us about it. Where did it come from? Who used to own it?
It belongs to the Richard Driehaus collection in Chicago right now. Basically, Chrysler decided they were going to try and build a really beautiful car in the early 40s, and they got a hold of Alex Tremulous, who eventually went on to design the Tucker, and this was what he came up with.
Speaking of the Tucker as well, if you haven't seen that Jeff Bridges movie, I think it was made back in 1988 or 89, try and get that, the Tucker movie, absolutely amazing. The story of a guy with ideas to revolutionise cars, punched out of the market by the big three, just so typical of the time, wasn't it?
It was just sad that he didn't get to build more cars.
And some of those features of the Tucker are in cars today, which I guess is a nice legacy that stuck as well. Now, this Aeroflow design, the shaved look, no door handles, this was ahead of its time as well, Jared. It's so windswept.
It is, and things like the hidden headlights, the retractable roof, most of those didn't come into cars until probably the late 50s.
Jared, back in the day, was this car looked upon as a performance car?
I don't know if it was a performance car per se. It was a stock Imperial chassis as far as I know, and mainly it was just a design exercise to see what kind of crazy things the designers could come up with.
And that's what Chrysler was renowned for, weren't they? They were game enough to design these bold designs, manufacture them, carry them through. Some didn't work, most did, but that was the gamble they took.
In 1934 they designed the Airflow, and it was kind of a flop as far as public views, and they decided they were going to try again with this one, and who knows, maybe cars like this one would have been in production if it hadn't been for World War II.
Well, the Aeroflow, that was Walter P. Chrysler's favourite car.
And it's a beautiful car. We also have one of those in the collection in Chicago.
Okay, well, look at the interior, Jared. Absolutely gorgeous there. The way that the dash is designed is just an amazing thing. It's hard to believe that it is 1941. I mean, we're stepping back in time here. It's a time capsule, isn't it?
It is, and a lot of the designs of that era, they're just not this smooth, this aerodynamic. It's really incredible.
What an incredible time it must have been back then in those design rooms. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall and heard some of those conversations that took place.
Oh yeah, they came up with some crazy ideas.
Jared, tell us the size of the engine here.
It's a straight 8, flat head, L valve.
Well, it's a straight 8. That's all that counted. As long as there was 8 under the hood, that's all that mattered. Jared, thank you so much for your time. Really good talking with you.
Thank you. It was nice to be here, Fletch.
Called the car of the future, the Thunderbolt hosted electronically concealed headlights, an aerodynamic body like no other, along with a 323 cubic inch straight 8. Only 5 were ever built. They were sold off by Chrysler at a then astronomical $8,250 each. 4 still survive today. I'm sure you'll agree when it comes to 5-star car events that shows don't come much better than this. I hope you've really enjoyed today's episode of the Concourse D'Elegance here at the Hotel Hershey in Pennsylvania, United States of America. Don't forget the DVD boxed sets of the show, along with Classic Restos merchandise, can be found at classicrestos.com.au. Major sponsor information is there as well. Click on their links to be directed to their website. Now, until next week, as I say at the end of every show, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you for watching. Don't forget to like Classic Restos on Facebook. Facebook.com/Classic Restos TV. And episodes can be seen at Shannons.com.au.
Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.